No genre of video game is as uniquely cursed by its own ambition as the space sim genre, and no game is more emblematic of that curse than Elite Dangerous, a perfect representation of the tenuous balance between unrealized potential and pure masterpiece. Is it worth coming back to in 2024? Or alternatively, is it worth picking up for the first time? That's a complicated question without a clear answer. If you haven't played Elite before, it takes place in a 1-to-1 scale replica of our galaxy. The scale is incomprehensible, and no game has ever captured the cold depths of space as well as Elite. You truly feel alone out in the dark. But that scale can work against the game's best interests, with long travel times obscuring the amount of content the game really has to offer. At its best, Elite can invoke a strange sense of natural wonder, with an unmatched degree of freedom to play the game exactly as you want to. At its worst, Elite can feel like a mile-wide puddle, spending longer traveling from system to system than you actually do partaking in your chosen career. In many ways, this is the core problem with Elite. The sense of scale is only possible if the galaxy is too big to traverse quickly, and the sense of natural wonder doesn't ever really kick in if you never feel isolated from the safety of the nearest spaceport. But if you can get over that initial hurdle and accept the time investment, setting aside an afternoon to play Elite properly can be one of the most gratifying experiences in the space game genre. Though the full-size galaxy is an easy selling point for the game, the flight mechanics are the feature that actually keeps me coming back. I've been profoundly underwhelmed by some of my most anticipated games of all time, purely because playing Elite has raised my standards for flight mechanics unreasonably high. The multi-axis flight model is backed by Newtonian physics that give your spacecraft real weight, and an unmatched degree of control, not just over where your ship is going, but over every aspect of what you need your ship to do. Performance can be fine-tuned, repairs can be done on the fly, and niche ship functions meet you at every turn when you navigate the menus that are seamlessly integrated into your ship's cockpit, keeping immersion-breaking HUD elements to a minimum. All of this is just while your ship is in motion. Docking your ship in a spaceport opens up a whole other degree of control, allowing you to outfit your ship from the ground up to fit your exact needs. Strip weapons off an exploration ship to shed weight and keep your jump drive range high, cram extra cargo racks onto a trading ship to maximize profit, load a fighter bay onto a larger combat ship to give it some extra firepower, or just turn your ship into a mobile refinery and go asteroid mining. Each ship available in the game has something it's best at, but you can absolutely get creative, and it's not uncommon to see passenger liners fitted for exploration, or sleeper-build freighters loaded to the brim with weapons systems. Make no mistake, Elite Dangerous is not a perfect game, and I will talk about some of the problems, but the piloting experience is not one of them. Now, if only I could say the same thing about the on-foot gameplay, which was added to the game in the most recent expansion. Now, if you've been playing Elite Dangerous for a while, you know that originally getting out of your ship and walking around wasn't possible at all. The game was a space sim, not a planet sim, and 100% of the game's effort was spent on perfecting that specific avenue of play. But with the release of games like No Man's Sky and the hype of Star Citizen came increased pressure to expand the game a bit, and in time this led to the Horizons expansion. While this didn't initially allow you to get out of your ship and walk around, it set some of the groundwork, allowing you to land your ship on planets and ride little moon buggies around, which honestly was pretty cool, though it didn't really do a whole lot in terms of adding to the gameplay loop in a meaningful way. In time, this gave way to the Odyssey expansion, and at long last, you could get out of your ship and walk around on your own 2 feet. While I am not one of the people that thinks this update ruined the game, it is a good way of explaining some of the problems that Elite faces as we look to the future. Elite Dangerous was not designed as a planet-centric game from the ground up, and that means the addition of what should be basic features is occasionally an unreasonably monumental task. A noteworthy feature missing from the release of Odyssey is the ability to get up and walk around your own ship, seemingly because none of the ship models have functional interiors outside of the cockpit, since the original designers didn't really anticipate anybody being able to get up and walk around at all. Planet exploration is limited to specific types of planets without full atmospheres, since adding fully populated atmospheric planets would require far more development resources than Frontier is either willing or able to provide. The space stations and settlements are neat, and have a respectable handful of missions and activities available to the players that prefer ground gameplay, but at the end of the day, Odyssey leaves you wondering what sort of game Elite could be with an unlimited budget. While the expansion was certainly a net positive on the game, and I loved driving around on planets and walking around on space stations, the occasional ground mission I end up taking always invokes a feeling of what could have been, which lies in stark contrast to the sense of wonder that the far more polished space-centric gameplay imparts in me. This is a sentiment echoed by most of the extremely dedicated Elite community, which is home to a wide variety of players. New players are often encouraged to fly solo, since a highly visible subset of bad actors are known to gank easy targets around the new player zone, but the vast majority of interactions I've had with Elite players have been favorable. Many players belong to small player-named factions, and it's not uncommon to find systems where dedicated Elite fans have obviously left their mark. But no group of players have left their mark on the game as visibly as the Fuel Rats, a completely player-run faction of pilots whose only calling is to come rescue stranded pilots that run out of fuel in the depths of space. This charitable effort hasn't gone unnoticed by Frontier, and it's not uncommon to see Fuel Rat banners alongside other in-universe advertisements at all the major spaceports. This particular avenue of player connection is actually pretty important, since despite Elite's status as a multiplayer game, the actual implementation of multiplayer is sorely lacking in the current iteration of the game. Meeting up with other players for multi-crew is a pain at best, and buggy and non-functional at worst. What you can and cannot do in the various multiplayer modes isn't really properly explained, and getting a team to play together is often more trouble than it's actually worth. It's far more common to run into other players a little more organically when participating in community events. The galaxy is constantly changing as the game is updating, with storylines progressing in real time. Currently, the Elite Dangerous player base is fighting to hold back an alien invasion, protecting spaceports, and fighting back massive Thargoid titans. These events are running alongside the first new ship releases in years, and it looks like Elite might finally be waking up from its long slumber after the mixed reception to Odyssey forced Frontier to put Elite on the back burner. But I say all this without ever answering the question, is Elite worth it to play now? And the truth is, I've been stalling, because I don't have an answer. Elite is one of those games where players full of complaints will tell you just how bad the game is, and how you should never play it. But those same players inevitably have played for thousands of hours. Personally, I have just a couple hundred hours in the game, and I feel like I haven't even scratched the surface. I've had brief stints as a trader, a bounty hunter, an asteroid miner, and as an explorer. But at the end of the day, after hundreds of hours, I still feel like I've barely started to dig into the depth the game has to offer. There are still bigger ships to buy, community events to participate in, and undiscovered planets to find. Like most other players, I could sit here and tell you that engineering is a grind and that the biggest ships don't give you a proper sense of scale. Or I could complain that planet-side gameplay feels a little half-baked, or the station interiors feel a little small and repetitive. But at the end of the day, there aren't many games that can impart a sense of natural wonder from the safety of your computer. And there are even less games that can perfectly meld that sense of wonder for the natural universe with such a convincing, in-depth simulation of sci-fi technology that isn't even real. Yes, there is a hypothetical version of Elite in an alternate timeline that is a lot better than what we have today. And yes, Elite will probably never reach its full potential. But quite simply, if you're looking to play a space sim in 2024, I don't think there's a better option.
Docking confirmed. Securing ship.